highlight this, bold it and underline it, Marduk. This is so important because we don't know who's who in Mr. Magoo right now. As long as you are being honest, truthful, pure in heart, pure in spirit, not injuring anybody, telling the truth, your walk will be guided. You were saying yesterday, you said there's nothing to be concerned about if all you're doing is telling the truth. You said something to that effect. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that we underline that and reiterate that. And we're all 8 years old right now, all of us. The world is our oyster. Everything's available to us. We just have to go into our orchard and start picking.
Recording is on.
And we just have to start picking our peaches and our avocados, and we just put them in our basket and let's figure out the first thing we want to do together. So thanks for organizing this, and I'm going to work on the screen share testing now real quick.
Oh, thank you so much for being willing to hop on right away. You don't meet too many people that, really want to share their successes, especially for free. So we all really thank you. I'm looking forward to being able to help others. And like I said,
thank you. Regarding sharing the knowledge, we have a duty, in my opinion, to assist and aid our brothers and sisters or our family members in a time of need. And we are here to do that. And I actually, there's been times when I had to meet with an agent at the IRS last summer, and he interrogated me for quite some time because he was very curious about how I was able to get that tax return, and he wasn't very nice to me. Let's just put it that way. And let's see, let me move this out of the way. And he wanted to know 2 questions by the time we were done, and then he gave me his advice. All he cared about was, who are you teaching this to, and where'd you learn it? And I answered his questions the way that a proper sovereign would answer those questions. I said, where I learned this is I spent 5 months reading through all the publications of the company that you work for and all the instructions of the company that you work for. And I said, while I'm at it, and I pulled my little W-9 out of my folder, and I said, can I get the company that you work for's EIN, please? Because I like to know who I'm doing business with when I'm having a conversation man to man.
Sure.
Okay, and we all know on here that man means mother, father, child. Okay, if you don't, you know now. So I said to him, man to man, which is basically saying, I'm sovereign and you better govern yourself because I know my rights and I know the law. And so he said, no, you can't have the EIN. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and just write in the EIN slot right here. I'll go ahead and write your badge number. And I'm looking at it and I'm writing it down, his badge number, right? Okay. So now he knows. We're in a contract now, right?
There you go.
No. And then he said, who is representing Last Chance Gulch or Teeter International Trust? And I said, we are. And he said, who's we? And I said, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is present here among us right now. And he said, oh, you're a religious organization. I said, I'm a study organization. And I study and I keep good books and records. That's what organization I am, right? So after that, I set the tone. And then, and I'm a minister in good standing in the state of Texas. And so anyway, he went ahead and questioned me. I had already sent him an inch thick envelope of all my records, transparent, I have nothing to hide. So he wanted to know how I learned all this. And I said, 5 months of studying. I got an EDIL loan after COVID, and I spent 5 months studying to learn a new trade, how to bookkeep and how to read instructions and how to take care of garnishments and debts that I was being put into that I didn't understand how to get out of those debts. So that was my answer to where I learned it. And then, who am I teaching? I said, I'm not teaching anything, but I'm full of the testimony of the Lord. And I can't not share that, my successes. So we're here to help the world. You're here to help the world. The IRS is here to help the world in some form or fashion. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. We're here to help the world, right? So at the very end, he didn't get what he wanted from me. He didn't scare me and he didn't bully me, and boy, did he try. And at the very end, he said, well, my advice for you would be to get a tax attorney. And I said, okay, well, my question back for you, and I was getting ready to write it down. What law is the tax attorney that I'm looking for operating under? Because I'd like to know so I can go study that. So I'm ready to write, and he's not answering me. I'm like, totally role playing. He's not answering me because it's tax law, which happens to be the law of transactions, trust, commerce, and HGR 192. So anyway, and I knew all that already. So I wanted to see what he would say. He didn't answer. He said, I just recommend you get a tax attorney. And at the time, all that he had sent me a bill for was $300,000, which was one of the tax returns that I had received through my trust for back wages for services rendered for my trust that I never got paid for. So I went ahead and I had already paid it on an OID. So he was spinning, could not figure out how he can't bully me because I'm standing in my square and I know what I know. And so anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys, is that I was bullied last summer and I thought I better not go in the public space yet, sharing about the complex parts of what we're doing. But what I can share is anything that we can go and download off the IRS website, right? That's right. An ES form, that's a 1040 voucher, and we can read that on a open forum, on TikTok, because it's already in the public. So we started doing the readouts and recording them for posterity, and all we were reading was the instructions. The difference is when you read, let's say, the Bible, and you get inspired by what that sentence means. Some people are able to look at it half full, and some people are look at it like it's a hurdle and they don't comprehend it and they don't understand it. So what I've been able to do is bring commentary and the possibility of all things available to us when I read the instructions in the IRS pages. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I hope that you all, as you get your revelations, because you're going to see new. And when you get your revelations, I request that you jot them down maybe in the chat and go, boom, a light bulb. Oh my gosh, OMG, I never saw it that way before. That way other people can see that there is a revelation here to be had. And I acted on those revelations. That's the only difference between me and someone who's doing their ES for the first time. Does that make sense? We're all equal 100%. In this pond. Okay, cool.
Can I ask you what made you, because I'm well aware of the 1040, the 1040V, utilizing those vouchers, but what made you want to use the ES? Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
Great question. At the time of applying for the EDIL loan, having to transfer all my things and my businesses from Santa Monica, California to Texas, where I was invited to come during COVID, California shut down. I don't know if y'all know about what happened over there, but I work independently for the entertainment industry doing hair, and I specialize in cancer survivors, putting hair enhancement on people who have, usually men and women or cancer survivors have hair that's this short. And
Mm.
our copper coated, it's called powder coated copper beads, we were able to attach that apparatus safely to someone's hair growing out, especially if it's brand new baby, just recovering from chemotherapy and having lost their hair. I started teaching people how to cut their hair, the ponytails, and put them in a Ziploc bag so that we could put their own hair back on them after they were done. And I was also at the
Crazy.
same time teaching people how to take thymus glandulars so that you wouldn't lose your hair if you had chosen to go the chemotherapy route. I actually went on Janine Garofalo's radio show and was sharing about hair loss prevention, and she lost her radio show after that because
Mm.
the pharmacia was heavy duty back in 2007, where they did not want any of us sharing preventative anything, as you all got to
Sure.
see through COVID. So after, I was just going to be on her show for 15 minutes because she had lost her mother at 40 years old to cancer. And she wanted me to discuss the morale implications. What makes people kind of not survive chemo is they lose their dignity and they lose their feather for life when they lose their eyebrows and their hair, and their whole family wants to stay away from them because they just don't look the same. And so I went on the show because she had been a client of mine. I do hair for the film industry in Santa Monica, and I had a clientele in New York and LA. And because I focused on cancer survivors, I had a lot of celebrities that would come, and they would basically donate. They would, for instance, if I did their hair and the studios, let's say, paid for their hair maintenance, they would pull a check out of their own pocket, and they would match it what the studios paid for them to get their hair done so that we could gift it to another cancer survivor. So Kristen Chenoweth and several others who had been supporting our work for years. And that's what had the clientele in New York and LA grow so big and so fast. And the IRS, I had to downsize after when 2008 hit, and the bail-ins from the banks hit, and Obama was going after everybody, all the 501c3s, any
Faith-based organization or whatever. Yeah.
S corps that were making six figures or more. They were going after them. Predatory lending is a thing. But you guys didn't know about the predatory extortion rings that were going on for far before the mortgage crisis. They were extorting from the churches that were 501c3s, the restaurants. They were extorting from business owners who were bringing in plenty. We had to pay, you feel me, to stay in business. So, but we didn't know it. It was being done through taxation. These frivolous and erroneous tax bills that were coming out of nowhere. And how I knew it was fraudulent is that my business got hit with a tax. And then after not responding, they went in and took $5,000, which was my safety net. $5,000. I always had at least $5,000 in my business bank account. They went in and took $5,000 out, red flagged my business account, which talks to all the other banks. And then they sent me a bill. And do you know they didn't take the $5,000 that they had just stolen off my invoice?
What the hell, dude?
That's the moment that God struck me with a bolt of lightning and knowledge. I got to witness. So the next time that the supervisor called me, bullying me basically every 3 days to get that bill paid, I said, now that I had the lightning bolt of inspiration and revelation, I said to her first, is this a recorded call? She said, yes. I said, okay. I want to speak to this on a recorded call for whoever's listening. I just had $5,000 taken out of my Business Bank of America account number, da 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 da. I was doing it for the record now. I'm a good record keeper. And I said, and I got a bill from your company the next day, and you did not adjust the ledger. There's an error in your accounting. She hung up on me.
That's badass.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you call out an error in accounting to any transaction in trust law, they have to audit and immediately pull the coins, the ill-gotten coins out of their pocket and give them back to you. They may even have to disappear that credit line if it's on a credit card, and it will disappear off your freaking credit report, because that's revealing their shell game.
Mm.
I didn't know it at the time. I was inspired by saying those words. I didn't even know it at the time. I hadn't even done my set-off bond yet. I did not have all this constitutional law under my belt yet. I was just inspired to start roaring for the record on the phone with whoever. I knew everyone was listening. If they're bullying us and extorting us, you know they're listening, right? So I was talking to the bullies, right? I don't like bullies at all. So I was talking to the bullies, so she hung up. That's when I started researching, and I because I got a lien. That's what they do. They take the money, they hide it, they off-book it, then they put a lien in the public so that you can't go open up another business account until you pay their bill, and you can, and you start to, they start to commercially cause distress for your vessel and commerce. And so I got liened. It was like, it was, the bill should have been 6,000, but they kept every month. So by the time they put the lien on, it was 15,000 that my business owed. It was an S corp, and I had to be an S corp because I had a license to work with the public. I'm a cosmetologist and we work with chemicals. So I couldn't be an LLC. I had to be an S corp, which means the state nanny gets to regulate you, your income, your outflow, your taxes, etc. I have so much I can share on all of that data for small business people, so that we don't, so that we actually now know how to go pick the fruit from our labor. I get to go back to 2006, that last file return that I filed before I knew how to do ESs, which triggered this story for me to tell you. Because at the time we were paying ESs with our labor, and S Corp has to pay quarterly an ES payment. Okay? That's how they get your labor, is you take your business bank account that's regulated by the nanny and you pay the mob quarterly a portion of what you expect to owe in taxes at the end of the year. What they didn't tell us is that you get back every single dollar that you wrote out of your business expense. You get it back, but you have to know to report it as an expense. We didn't know we get our taxes back. Ladies and gentlemen, every dollar for every tax you've ever paid gets returned to you in what's called an overpayment tax return withholding. So when we ES every quarter, we're asking our secretary in the back office, hold my 2,000 right now, hold my next 2,000 right now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 8,000 in the kitty. So when I go to file, I get to expense the 8,000 and I get the whole 8,000 back dollar for dollar. That's the importance of doing ESs. We didn't know it was an excise tax that we get back, right?
Yeah,
they did not teach us this part, you guys, because if they would have, think about a corporation that's really big that pays about 30,000 a quarter. Boom, 30,000, 30,000, 30,000 times 4. A CPA, a wealth manager, a brokerage, series 6, 7, 8, whatever, stockbroker, whatever, that are usually the attorneys working in the back office of a big brokerage firm, they know to expense that and file it on a 990 because they're a nonprofit foundation working in the private and they're exempt from reporting, but they're not exempt from collecting.
So they're expensing labor and basically getting it for free, all these corporations. And they won't even budge to give people a dollar raise. That's crazy.
They can't because it would pick up the shell and the game would be exposed.
Mm. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I know you always hear like, oh, well, your own socials paying your labor, like your own in your tax return or whatever, or when you give them your social, they're pulling the credit for your labor. But that's how they're getting credit for you working there, whether it's through you or them. That's crazy.
So you just got the basis for the purpose of an ES form attached to a voucher, whether it's a 1040 for an individual taxpayer. It could be your 18-year-old that works down at Dunkin' Donuts part-time while he's going to school. Okay? Every single withholding amount, FICA, federal, whatever, that was taken out of that W-2 gets to be returned at the end of the year when we all teach our 18-year-olds how to go on Free Tax USA and file a federal tax return.
Wow. Now the
Wow is
rich
right.
people do this. Yeah, the rich people do this. You always hear about, well, Jeff Bezos paid $0 in taxes, blah blah blah. They expense everything. They know how the game works. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I know you always hear like, oh, well, your own socials paying your labor, like your own in your tax return or whatever, or when you give them your social, they're pulling the credit for your labor. But that's how they're getting credit for you working there, whether it's through you or them. That's crazy.
So you just got the basis for the purpose of an ES form attached to a voucher, whether it's a 1040 for an individual taxpayer. It could be your 18-year-old that works down at Dunkin' Donuts part-time while he's going to school. Okay? Every single withholding amount, FICA, federal, whatever, that was taken out of that W-2 gets to be returned at the end of the year when we all teach our 18-year-olds how to go on Free Tax USA and file a federal tax return.
Wow. Now the
Wow is
rich
right.
people do this. Yeah, the rich people do this. You always hear about, well, Jeff Bezos paid $0 in taxes, blah blah blah. They expense everything. They know how the game works. But someone
The
figured it out.
trust, which is what all of us are coming back home and we're occupying now, what? Our estate.
Right.
So we're occupying our estate. Who's the only one with the receipts? This is just one of 10 piles that I'm working on. Okay? Who has the records? We do.
Right.
Who's the only one that has a receipt for an ES that I sent in? Da, da, da. That's the first thing we're going to go over. If you're a trust, you do a 1041 ES. You attach a 1041V. And then if you're like me and you have trusts in California, you file a 541 fiduciary tax return.
For the state?
For the state, because my trusts have all been resident. It's like an offspring. My
Sure.
trusts are like irrevocable, like my unnamed child is my irrevocable trust that operates in the private, and it only files a 577 because we don't have to report in the public that which we do, what that trust, let's say what it's worth. We only file and report what we want to draw down and live on that year to fund that trust and all of its operations. So I know that I'm saying a lot. We're recording for a reason, because just jot down when I say a form that you all haven't heard of before. It's an irrevocable split interest trust that the wealthy people have been filing for, I would say, since the Great Crash. Um, it's called a split interest trust, which means that the Benny and the trustees can both live off of. It's not, in other words, it's not being commingled, which is the big rule that you break when you're a trustee for someone else. It's split interest means I can live off of the proceeds and the income out of that trust bank account without being considered that I'm commingling. So, and then here's another name that you all may have heard of that it's called in the real world, that people who inherited a trust fund are taught how to operate like this because it's called a charitable remainder trust. It's exactly what our state treasury public trust, UCC, someone said it yesterday, UCC contract trust is defined as.
A public charitable trust, yeah.
Why? Because if I get in a car accident tomorrow and I had no will and no emergency contacts of record at the IRS, and my body does not get claimed in 3 days, the morgue, the funeral services, the state nanny, everybody has to come in and take care of the body. And every debt that I had at the time that I died and got extracted out of the car, I'm now a non-resident, I'm living in the clouds. They have to go in, it's true, non-residents are in the clouds already. They have to
balance the books, yeah.
Or they're without the United States, which is also us, connected to our Maine and Puerto Rico. Okay, I digress. So balance the books. They've got to pay the tax, or any business taxes owed falls back on the grantor, the surety, the guy who is the single member of the LLC who signed the signature card at the bank. So there's all this money in there that it's got to go to somebody who can claim it, right? So if I died tomorrow, which I'm more than happy to go. So, okay, just so you know, this has never been about the money for me. I'm afraid of nothing and no one in this third dimension at all. I'm happy to be working with the Father while I'm here. In fact, I won't have it any other way. But the system was set up for the dead or the fiction to bury the dead or the fiction. Remember I shared with you I was an orphan? I was a foundling in the hospital. So when you're an orphan, abandoned, or a widow whose husband never came home from the war, that was drafted, that didn't want to go in the first place, the system, the nanny state, was set up to take care of the family of that military officer for a time. And then the SSA, you get to draw down the survivor benefits. So if that all makes sense to you, then you can understand how the system was so fast at growing and operating in such a way, because there was no one else that came to fill the void to take care of our servicemen and women. The Republic was abandoned. There was no Article 3 courts where 12 people could gather and say, listen, Corporation X just stole $5,000 of my money. By the way, IRS Corporation just stole $5,000 worth of my money and didn't correct the record and send me a corrected invoice. Back then, you made yourself a target because, as you know, the Jesuits is the military for the Vatican, London, and DC. So that time has passed. It was very dangerous back then to do OIDs. And I started learning and studying how to be a trustee pro bono for people, because those Marines and those veterans that were coming back from the war, their businesses were being levied the same way mine was. So I learned about putting their business into a trust where I could be the agent, so I could be their shield, and they could still operate out of an account that couldn't get garnished. Trust accounts can't get garnished or levied.
Beautiful.
right? Okay, so that's the importance of having a trust account or two. Or so back to the ESs. Back to why I started studying trust law and all that Patrick Devine stuff. If you guys listen to enough of those calls, you'll actually hear him call my name several times because I was always asking questions.
Oh, you were on those calls.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, it's been a long haul for me. But remember, I was learning how to be a trustee for other people because the bonds that I was writing to help people's mortgages, to help them not lose their homes, 1 out of 3 was working. So why? Why 1 out of 3? I'm doing the same thing. Why aren't all of these people treated equally? Well,
Right.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac had a little hand in things, okay? So we learned a lot. I
Hold
sent a
on.
lot. Great, thank you, Marduk. And really, what this is it's a testimony in front of a jury of my own peers. Okay, we're practicing self-governance here, and what I'm bringing to the table is several successful processes by which we can stay safe while we're reporting suspicious activity.
Sure.
Okay? I'm going to say it just like that because there's nothing more to say. I don't want to give any of these pirates really any more of our time, attention, or energy because we're demanifesting them as we speak.
Please.
Right? Our prayer is for what? Jubilee. March me out of Babylon as soon as possible without delay, right? And why not help people while we're exiting, right? So,
100%.
okay.
And
Yeah.
you, Kimarie, please feel free to share your screen. If you want to have your camera on, that's fine. But there's a lot of people that were muted and had their cameras on, which, you're speaking, so it's totally fine.
Okay. Okay, good. Susan wants to see the passion. Okay, good. Right. Listen, all glory to the Most High. I cannot say it enough. It's been the most difficult part of this journey has been to keep myself and those around me safe so that we don't get attention on us. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you're winning and you're doing it peacefully and you're doing it through arbitration, which is salvage, bankruptcy, trust, and common law. It's called, give me a second. It's the benefit of discovery, but also the doctrine of discovery. Okay. When you're managing a home, a trust, a bank account, a business, you are the officer. And your job, as soon as you recognize a theft, a trespass, an injury, a harm, an accounting error, your job is to report it in the safest manner possible. And I'm going to show you all how to do that because I know a lot of us have been injured already, trespassed and all that, right? I'm going to show you how to do it. But if we know how to do it safely, then we're showing those who are watching right now and listening, and I know they all are, they're rooting for us right now because we're showing them that we're capable of self-governance, making ourselves whole by a matter of just putting in our reports, our records, or our intentions. Okay? You can never harm yourself or anyone else if you're sending a notice, a payment, or an inquiry. That was my opportunity to marry all that is divine and have my husband actually be God, the Christ, the holy guardian angels, all those that would help me win this victory because I knew we were here to save this planet. I just didn't know all the parts and pieces yet at the time. So my first time being single, right? I get a wedding ring, and it's been on ever since. So I'm married to this mission. And I think that creates all of us having the armor on, and why we're being so blessed and given and shown the data and the information that we need to in order to stay safe, stay peaceful, stay loving, but report.
Stay strong. Yeah.
Stay strong. I mean, we have a duty. You have a duty. So, so back to the military piece. That's why I was humanitarian and helping and all that stuff. So anyway, give me a second. It's the benefit of discovery, but also the doctrine of discovery. Okay, when you're managing a home, a trust, a bank account, a business, you are the officer. And your job, as soon as you recognize a theft, a trespass, an injury, a harm, an accounting error, your job is to report it in the safest manner possible. And I'm going to show you all how to do that, because I know a lot of us have been injured already, trespassed and all that, right? I'm going to show you how to do it. But if we know how to do it safely, then we're showing those who are watching right now and listening, and I know they all are, they're rooting for us right now, because we're showing them that we're capable of self-governance, making ourselves whole by a matter of just putting in our reports, our records, or our intentions. Okay? You can never harm yourself or anyone else if you're sending a notice, a payment, or an inquiry.
In good faith with clean hands, non-belligerently. Yes.
That's it. And that goes all the way down to a guy wanting to give you a traffic ticket because his commissions are low. There's usury in Babylon. There's a bridge that we're all building. And then there's non-usury. That's the heaven on earth that we're all walking towards. But in the process, we are straddling, we are the bridge, we are the wall, we are locked arms. And we're actually locking arms so that we can bend over that ship and lift our brothers and sisters up so they can lock arms with us, because they understand and comprehend in their heart what it is we're getting ready to do. And we're just soldiers of the Most High, and we've learned how to do this. This is my flag, by the way. I have an idea, for the record. I have an idea that all the world's flags turn into banners, because we're going to be off the sea only. We're going to be away from and off of the lost at sea or international waters, kind of abandoned, needing a rescue, to being on the land, agrarian law, sovereigns of our couch, our family, and our garden. Okay? We don't rule over our neighbors, but we can report and file if we see suspicious activity. But you don't want to go put that on TikTok. You want to make sure you report it to the proper, safest place so that you don't become an enemy of your neighbor, right?
That's all you see now, too. Just people posting the bad reviews on TikTok, getting millions of views. Yeah. There is more effective ways to go on about it.
Yes, because we really want to do it peacefully. We if you see something, we want to be able to say something, but stay safe. So I wanted to turn from a flag to a banner, and each one of the country flag colors, I'd like it to be the white, the background of the banner is white, and the flag, if you've gone to peace, the flag is actually in the shape of a heart. So the colors of that country are inside the heart, right? Isn't that awesome? I love it. I love it. All right, we have big plans. We have a love boat. We have to onboard people onto. Okay, it's the love boat. We're literally gonna change the world, you guys, and we're gonna lead by example. Okay, back to ESs. Okay, so
back to ESs.
well, I mean, So ask me, okay, so basically that's a tiny little review of a little bit of background knowledge, all of my knowledge I wanted to become my diary or my testimony of how I've walked with the Father by divine inspiration. Wait till you hear about the writ of replevin I did for my voiceless vaccine injured niece who's 18 now.
You were
And back in
telling us about that yesterday. Yeah.
Yep, back in 2013. I'll share the screen and I'll show you that on the way out. That'll be a little bonus for everybody because it has been posted up in Scribd. International law requires that you put a public notice or public service announcement in 3 different places where you don't have to pay for the information. If you've put it in 3 different places, like an online library or an online blog site where people can go and click on it, or even Facebook, believe it or not, if there's a time stamp, the date and the date, we're back. So when you do a public service announcement, the proper way to do it is to make sure everyone has access to it without having to pay.
Sure.
Okay, because it is, that knowledge will benefit all who get to hear it. Okay, and so when you are, the court will even allow someone to serve a divorce paper if the only way you can get a hold of somebody is on Facebook Messenger, because there's a timestamp on it and you can screenshot it. They will allow that to be considered notice given if you can't find the person. Okay, what if your safety is in danger and you're needing to do a restraining order, let's say, and you have to have your divorce papers filed before you can actually do a restraining order? You have to be able to serve that person with divorce papers first before they will follow that law. Okay, so because we are traversing, we're coming out of usury, but we have to find ways to do it safely is all I'm trying to give an example about. Okay, so Facebook is why they censored us during COVID, because it's prima facie evidence admissible in any court of competent jurisdiction. Human rights abuses and violations much? Yes. Yes. And now that we're finding out that Zuckerberg's admitting to that he was paid to censor,
I saw
the
that.
whole shit show's about to fall apart in front of everybody's eyes, folks. If people weren't awake last month, they're going to be awake this month. Okay. Anyway. All right. So that's why they had to announce that the Social Security cards got hijacked, because we're under salvage, bankruptcy, trust, estate, private banking, and tort. Actual evidence of a harm or an injury when someone's been silenced. We all got swept off of X because we were loud from 2017 on, because I have so many friends that are military, ex-military and stuff. My family comes from that. That I was always, I was going to be Charlie's Angels when I grew up, okay? I was going to be a double agent, total double agent, okay? I was going to do it. And I wanted to be Bionic Woman, Charlie's Angels, Wonder Woman, all together, Wonder Twins. Let's do it, right?
I think you made it, yeah.
Total 10X, right? Okay. So when we are, I think it was, let's see, 2007, I surrendered all. And I basically, because it was, I had been married for 17 years and it was my first time being single at the top of my game in my business. My husband wanted to start having kids. And I was like, oh, I don't see that for at least another 5 years. So we had a friendly divorce so that he could go off and find someone who wanted to have kids, right? It was a beautiful, friendly divorce, okay? We were separated for 6 months, and like you have to be in California. And he went to his 20-year high school reunion, and he meets up with the only homework, blonde hair, blue-eyed girl that he ever did homework with in his basement in, like, I don't know, 4th grade, and the only one he ever kissed on the cheek, right, in grade school. he meets up with her at his 20-year high school reunion, and she has 2 twins that are 6 years old. Okay, you can imagine what a miracle all of that was, to the point where she even called me on our last night together when we finalized our divorce. We went to a rave and we just like danced all night until the sun came up, just reminiscing about the whole 17 years of being together and all of our great memories, because we were just laying them all to rest, right? I was handing them off to this amazing woman. And on the way home, the sun was coming up and he called her and she said, I want to talk to Kimarie. So we put her on speakerphone and she was bawling and she just said, I just want to thank you for being so honest and letting David go so he could find me. And, you know, that was my opportunity to marry all that is divine, and have my husband actually be God, the Christ, the holy guardian angels, all those that would help me win this victory, because I knew we were here to save this planet. I just didn't know all the parts and pieces yet at the time. So my first time being single, right? I get a wedding ring and it's been on ever since. So I'm married to this mission. And I think that creates all of us having the armor on, and why we're being so blessed and given and shown the data and the information that we need to in order to stay safe, stay peaceful, stay loving, but report.
Stay strong, yeah.
Stay strong. I mean, we have a duty. You have a duty. So back to the military piece. That's why I was humanitarian and helping and all that stuff. So anyway. I get a wedding ring and it's been on ever since. So I'm married to this mission. And I think that creates all of us having the armor on, and why we're being so blessed and given and shown the data and the information that we need to in order to stay safe, stay peaceful, stay loving, but report.
Stay strong, yeah.
Stay strong. I mean, we have a duty. You have a duty. So back to the military piece. That's why I was humanitarian and helping and all that stuff. So anyway, okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, back to essence. Yes, godly savage. Yes.
No.
Okay. All right. So
let me lay this out before
go ahead.
we get there. So you're saying people can utilize this with their just 1040 Social Security person. They don't need to have a trust set up. Is that what you're saying when you're mentioning that? Okay.
Let's do this. Let me share the screen. Okay, everybody, can you all see this little, as I'm highlighting right now, this first part that I'm going to read? Can you all see that blue?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I want to start it off with a context. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for helping each other out. Yep. This is for the books. I mean, I find it interesting that very few people have ever even really talked about the ESs. That's how I know it was time to really start sharing about this. Okay.
Even Patrick didn't. Yeah. So I've studied his stuff through the book. So, but it makes sense. I understand what you're doing.
Okay. And let me just, for the record and people listening to afterwards, the brilliant question that you asked. Okay. What made me look into the ES? I had a garnishment that had followed me from California, that I was studying and learning and reading on how to, let's say I had $1 million and I was able to write a check for the tax bill that had come into my mailbox. What then? How do I get the garnishment released for them to stop taking 25% of my Lyft driving paycheck every week? Now, how many of you in here can relate to that, what I just said? Hello? Everybody has had experience of being levied or liened maybe once or twice in this war that we're in, okay? So I love to take tests. And for me, studying all these instructions was like an open book test. I was like, let me see if I can solve this puzzle. Okay? So that's the context by which I enjoy reading every line by line. And when I see a word like happy, did any of you even see the word happy that I highlighted just now?
Wait, where?
Exactly. I'll wait until everybody gets their eyeballs on it. Okay? When you see the word happy in an instruction form from the IRS, you better pay attention.
Oh, I do see it.
Found
Yeah,
it.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it? Okay. Now we're all together on the same page here. Now you see what made me just drink and drink and drink and drink and drink, because I'm like, somebody's talking to me here. And if it's nobody else but God, I'm having a heyday here. Okay? All right. So when they say the word please, this is considered a prayer or advice from our back office secretaries whose job it is to keep all of our records. You'll soon see they're about to go away as a debt collector and they're about to become a paymaster. All agencies with a dunce number were weaponized in the last 150 years. Full stop. Everybody knows this by now. So if there was money connected to an agency or a company or an organization, you better bet your bottom line there was no prayer, no God, and no justice. Okay? But here we're going to see that it's been here all along. And when those with eyes to see start to open their eyes, they start to see the prayers that we get to forgive the trespasses of the past, and that they weaponized the IRS and they turned it into the biggest bully we've ever been afraid of worldwide. And now they're about to be your paymaster. Okay? So
I like it.
So I want to say this before we get going, before we start at the top, okay? Because of all the context that I've given everybody, how important this is, there's a couple words that I need you to understand and never forget the definition of, okay? So we're going to start right here. Keep, please, this is a prayer, please keep this notice with your records. Why would they say that if it wasn't important?
Yeah, that is odd.
Right? Okay. It may help you if we ask you for other information. If you have any questions about the rules for filing and giving information, please call or visit. Please, again, please call or visit any Internal Revenue Service office. Interesting. The average time and expense required to complete and file this form, time and expenses, wait a minute. Time and expenses? That must mean I get to be paid for my time and my expenses. So I want to know how I create that energetic currency that might come back to me. Let's see what else. This is very curious to me. I'm excited. So it's going to vary depending on individual circumstances. For estimated averages, see the instructions for your income tax return.
Wow. You gotta read between the. Why did they make it like that though? You know, like you gotta read between the lines, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you why. So that the CPAs who are paid to steal, the pirates who are paid with a letter of marque to come over on a ship and plunder, will never, tell me any bank robber you've ever known with immediate gratification as its sole modus operandi that would ever take the time to read an instruction on how to rob a bank. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so at some point in our biblical history that we're in right now, there was going to come a day when we would have a revelation that you actually get to get back every dollar of an ES payment, and you get to get it back in the form of a what? Tax return?
Mm.
Do you see what I'm saying? This is a
Mhm.
revelation we're having now. If you have any suggestions for making this package, oh, now they're calling it a package, sounding a lot like Christmas. We would be happy to hear from you. See the instructions for it. They said it again now. They repeated it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Instructions for your income tax return of dollar for dollar of every tax you paid. They never wanted us to find this stuff out. Just saying. Okay? All right.
Beautiful.
All right. So now, very important here. As soon as I read that, I was like, wait a minute. And I always check out the form before I put my energy into anything. I always skim the form. I always skim it. They
Sure.
tell you right here how to create a money order for your back office secretary to issue you a return. It's all right here. On every single voucher or ES payment. That's for a corporate ES, a 940 ES, a private foundation, or a nonprofit, all of it. It's all been here all along. Okay? So, file only if you're making a payment. Well, we're about to find out what a payment actually can be. Oh, it's by a check or money order. We're actually going to look up the definition of what the IRS back office secretary calls a money order. Mail this voucher with your check or money order. There's your 1040V. Write it down. There is your money order. It's a 1040V.
Yep, it is.
As long as and if it's payable here. Now, what pirate do you know that's ever been willing to make any of their checks payable to the United States Treasury?
None.
None. Thank you for the right answer. Please step forward. The price is right. You just answered it perfectly. Okay. That's the truth. This is why people have missed this for the last 5 years. Write your. Oh, you mean this number that just got hijacked from the Social Security Administration's archives? Because the Social Security number is actually underwriting this. And because we are the bank right here. So who are we actually paying in the future? Us. If we're really in a self-governing republic, aren't we paying it forward into our future collectible? Aren't we actually the creditors of the bankruptcy? We don't have any of that debt, but we have all this credit that we have to go collect. Anybody that's ever been in a bankruptcy, what do? What's the indentured trustee do? He creates a settlement fund, an EIN. It's a special purpose vehicle, SPV. Many of you have heard that Trump's created a bunch of those since 2017, just saying. SPV is for a settlement. Maybe there's a class action lawsuit. Maybe there's a bankruptcy, and your creditors get listed. Not only can the creditors not come collect from you until the whole bounty of the settlement has been accounted for, but they are in line based on your monthly or quarterly or annual payments due and owing to that company that has now lost its ability to collect from you because you're in bankruptcy. In bankruptcy, who gets paid first? The creditors.
That's us.
And because they what? Underwrote us a little bit of credit. Now, all of that aside, we already know now that by this, the minute we put our signature on something, what did we actually do? Ordered money. That's it. So if you can rebut the fact that I'm paying me, look at how it's bold and in quotes, folks. It's also, I'll turn your attention to upper lowercase.
Mm-hmm. That ain't a
That's
corporation.
our office. We are the taxpayers that make the payroll for those who work in our back office under the United States Treasury de jure.
And I remember you saying that you got your check from Philly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
Is that correct? Yeah,
Bureau of Fiscal Services.
Pat would always say that's the de jure treasury out in Philly. He would say that
Correct.
over and over.
Yes. So when the bank froze my ability to access my online banking statements and records, who did they actually steal from? We, the Treasury.
Mm.
Who got an automatic free audit the day that I reported that IRS agent?
You?
Well, yes, but guess who didn't have anything to hide? Me. And guess who else got audited? The bank that blocked my ability and access to online bank. And by the way, that business has been in business, family-owned bank, which rarely do you hear about that in the United States, since 1946.
Wait,
Just
what happened in
saying.
46?
Well, a lot happened in 1946, but that's when this family bank was established. I'm not going to say their name because this is going on a recorded
Sure.
training, right? But do not staple or attach your payment with this voucher. Money orders, checks, ACHs, paper that has a micker on it may need to be run through a, I can't remember what it's called, but the people who have access to being able to do ACHs, okay? Some businesses actually have a responsibility and a duty to write a business check right here, check or money order, because the businesses have a duty to report their ES payments. So some people will write a business check, like I told you all at the beginning of this call that I had to do each, because I was an S Corp working in LA. So dentists, chiropractic, anybody who works with the public and physically touches the public, okay? Probably even restaurants because they prepare food for the public. You have to have a business checking account where all of your expenses, including taxes, get paid out of it. Okay? So, so think about, I don't know, probably 90% of Babylon is either a business, a sole prop, a corporation. All of us, all caps, we're all considered, we were all considered corporations also. That's why when we get a bill in the mail from the IRS, we think we have to pull it out of our personal checkbook and pay it, because everybody's been paying with their personal checkbooks, okay? But I'm here to show us that we, for the first time, we have a choice. We can actually do script by way of a money order attaching a 1040B. So they're trying to teach us right here, what do you mean by, what does the IRS mean by cash? What do they mean by money? And what do they mean by your payment? And what does attachment mean in Bouvier's? Okay, because I had a lot of training before I started studying these instructions. So for me, I was having a ton of revelations and no one to share it with. So I wasn't able to bounce it off of anybody to go, am I seeing this correctly? I mean, this is profound. This is biblical. I mean, they're showing us how to do it. So that's what I wanted to share about that piece. And what I want